What's up, iHeartCountry? It's Jameson Rodgers. Here's an inside look at my debut album, Bet You're From a Small Town. Make sure you check it out on iHeartRadio. One Day was written at my friend Jim Catino's lake house south of Nashville. Me, Will Bundy, Smith Onquist, and Lynn Hutton wrote this song. Bundy had the title, One Day, and I started playing the acoustic guitar, that kind of groove on the acoustic guitar, and it kind of fell out one day, get it? But definitely one of my favorite songs on the record. It's that kind of song is the kind of song I like to write the most. Just about, I don't know, having your heart broken and missing someone. I have no idea why I like to write these kind of songs, but yeah, definitely one of my favorites. So Merle Haggard, it was an idea I had randomly. I wish I could tell you where I came up with the song idea, but I just wrote down the title Merle Haggard one day and got to thinking on it, and I was like, it'd be cool to write a song called Merle Haggard Would Have Wrote Songs About You. I was always a fan of Merle's writing, and there's not a bigger fan of Merle than my dad, and so I grew up listening to Merle with my dad. And so it was kind of a song I wanted to honor Merle in a way, and I've always been a fan of writing songs about girls that break your heart. I don't know why, it's just naturally what I like to write about most of the time. And so combine the two, and it's one of my favorite songs on the record. Close to Anything came from a writing retreat at the cabin that I take some of my favorite writers to every January, and this is one of the first songs we wrote on that particular trip. I just picked the guitar up, started playing that riff, the groove. I did not have that idea. I think either Hunter or Brent or Jake, one of those three. One of them had the idea, and it just kind of fell out pretty fast. It's one of those just kind of up-tempo rockin' kind of love songs that kind of hard to write most of the time, but for whatever reason, that one fell out pretty fast. So Bet You're From a Small Town was born at the cabin, like most of these songs. I wrote it with Smith Onquist, Lynn Hutton, and Will Bundy. I'm pretty sure it was Smith's idea, and it was actually pretty easy writing all the colorful lines in the verses. It was actually harder to narrow down which lines actually made the song. We had written probably 20 different lines that kind of direct towards a small town image or whatever, and so the hardest part was just narrowing down what to put in the song and what to leave out. So one of my favorite songs on the record. It's probably one I relate to the most on the record. Missing One is probably the oldest song on the record. It has survived at least one other EP, and I couldn't let it go without. I didn't think it had gotten its fair shake. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. Maybe my favorite song ever. I wrote it with Hunter Phelps and Smith Onquist back several years ago. It actually took us like 6 months of writing every other Wednesday to finish it, and yeah, it's been a fan favorite for the last few years, and I'm glad it made the record. You Won't came from the cabin as well. This past January, I wrote it with Smith Onquist, Will Bundy, and Lynn Hutton. This one was born from me picking up the acoustic guitar and playing that riff. It's like a 6/8 rock kind of tempo thing, which is rare. I hardly ever play that kind of thing on the guitar. And my buddy Smith had that title, and I don't know, it took us probably 2 or 3 hours to write it there at the cabin, and definitely a unique kind of a sound for me. I've never written a song with that feel and vibe, so definitely looking forward to everybody hearing that one. Girl with the Broken Heart was, I wrote that song with Michael Hardy and Jake Mitchell. This was probably written a few months ago, and Hardy came in with that title actually. He came in and he said, I had this title called Girl with the Broken Heart. You could kind of do it like this, and it was just one of those typical Nashville writing days. We were done by 1:30, 2 o'clock, and went and ate lunch afterward, and you know, that's what we used to do all the time when we were in town writing together every day, and before everybody got busy on the road. And so it was kind of nice having one of those days again, and it in a way feels like Some Girls 2.0 in a weird way, and so I think it'll be a fan favorite, and looking forward to everybody hearing it. Bars Back Home I wrote with Hunter Phelps, Ashley Gorley, and Smith Onquist. I'm pretty sure it was Hunter's idea, and we just wanted like a classic country vibe type song. We didn't really know, I don't know how to explain it. We just kind of sat down and we just wanted to write like a throwback country kind of vibe, and you know, we were just talking about how it's healing going back home and being with some friends, you know, that you hadn't seen in a while, and hopefully that point was taken in the song. Supports with a View was written, I wrote that song with Jake Mitchell, Brent Anderson, Hunter Phelps, At the Cabin, like so many other of these songs. You know, a love song is really not my specialty, so this was about as sappy and love songish as I'll probably ever do. But I remember like the cabin that we go to has an amazing view, and I think that probably had a little something to do with it. Definitely a fun song to write, and I'm looking forward to playing it live. Bringing It Back, I wrote with my buddy Jake Mitchell. I think somebody might have canceled on us that day, so it ended up just being a two-way write. And obviously I've written so many songs with Jake, and this is actually one of the older songs on the record, and another kind of a good old boy love song. It's not really what I want to write every single day, but for whatever reason it kind of fell out that day. I had that title, Bringing It Back, and I think Jake spun the angle to where it's like, you know, bringing back how to be a good guy, you know, how to make a good guy cool again. And so definitely fun one to write. Up-tempo songs are hard to write, for one, and that one is definitely just a unique angle of a rock and roll song. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like Tom Petty, but with a unique idea, I guess. So I think that's what I like about it the most. Cold Beer Calling My Name, man. The song is slowly changing my life. You know, I wrote this one with Hunter Phelps, Alyssa Vanderheim, and Brett Tyler back in probably 2017. When we wrote it, had no intentions of it ever being a duet or a feature of any kind. You know, and even when I went in the studio to record it, had no intentions of Luke singing on it. And around the same time, Luke had hit me up to go on tour for the next year. And so I was like, man, it would be cool to have a feature on my first record. You know, I'm about to be with Luke for the entire year touring. And so I just threw it out there, you know, hoping he would say yes. And luckily he did. And yeah, man, Luke has done me more favors than I'll ever be able to repay him for. And the song wouldn't be the same without him. And I'm so glad to see it being successful on radio. Some Girls, obviously my first #1 song, went #1 during a pandemic. Not exactly how you draw it up, but I mean, I've told the story a million times. You know, I fell in love with that song several years ago. I wasn't a writer on that song. It was just a demo that, you know, I had heard through my best friends that wrote it, Hardy, Jake Mitchell, and CJ Solar. And I just always told those guys I would record it one day if nobody else did. And so here we are. We got a #1 with it, and yeah, it's definitely fun to play that one live and hear a crowd singing it. It's changed my life. So Good Dogs was another song written at the cabin with Brent Anderson, Hunter Phelps, and Jake Mitchell. Hunter had this idea. He had just gotten a dog the previous year, and I remember when we were writing it, it was tough to kind of figure out the angle of the chorus. We knew we wanted to end it with, you know, good dogs don't live long enough, and I just, for whatever reason, it clicked with me. You know, you could throw in the, you know, a good truck, a good woman, and some good buddies, and kind of made it that sort of an angle at it. And I think it made it pop that day. And it was one of those where we had to walk out of the room a time or two to shed a tear while we were writing it. And you know, I grew up with dogs, and just like I'm sure everybody has. And so they're family members, and it's tough to see them go, and, you know, wish they could spend a little more time on earth with us, but it's kind of what the song's about. Desert, one of the first songs written at the cabin. Wrote it with Josh Miller, Smith Onquist, and Jake Mitchell. Josh Miller had this idea. He had it was like an old proverb or something. You know, sunshine all the time just makes a desert. And we were actually writing another song, and he threw that out. It was another song that I loved, and we were kind of in the middle of writing it, and we kind of got stuck for a minute, and I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, they had started Desert. And so I was like, wait, whoa, what about this other song? And they were like, I don't know, this Desert, like Sunshine All the Time makes it desert. And I was like, yeah, you're right, that other song sucks. And so never even finished the other song, and we wrote Desert that night at like 2 in the morning, and definitely one of my favorites.